This is round 4 of the Shepardstown Open. I'm playing a 1764 in the last round. His quick rating, so his rapid rating over the board, is actually about 100 points higher than his over the board regular rating. And yeah, my opponent this round hasn't actually played a regular rated chess tournament, a classical rated chess tournament, in like 20 years. So I know that coming in, not that it would have changed anything, but my opponent did a good job of defending and counterattacking and everything. So with that being said, let's just hop right into it. All right. I played e4, he played c5, and we are both just developing. I play, after d6 though, I like to play the move d4. I'm striking in the center, bringing my queen out early, unprincipled, and then bringing it back to d2, and I'm going to fianchetto and castle long. So kind of definitely a huge sideline. Knight of 6, and we both develop, we both bring our bishops out, and then we both castle. So it's going to be a fight. I play f3, he plays queen a5, I in a2, I in c3, I move my king over, he plays bishop e6. Bishop e6 in a setup like this for white isn't very useful because it's just hitting dirt because of this fianchettoed pawn structure. I play knight ge2, he plays rook fc8, I play g4, hoping for h4, h4, h5, and just ripping apart his king side. He plays knight e5, targeting my weak f3 pawn. I play knight d4, defending my f3 pawn, and potentially thinking about taking on e6 at some point. He plays rook c5. So at this point, he has about 29 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes still, and I have 28 minutes. And I think for 10 minutes on my next move. So I go from 28 minutes to 18 minutes. Because his idea is pretty simple. His idea is to double up on the c file and then clear open this diagonal and take on c3. Like, that's pretty much his idea. And a lot of sacrifices could be happening here. I mean, actually, well, after he doubles up on the rook on the c file, he can just take on c3. He's threatening to take on c3 just straight up. But the rook on c5 also feels a bit, I don't know what's the right word, like loose. It can be subject to, you know, pawn forks potentially, knight moves to hit it. Actually, it's not super clear to me how good this rook on c5 is. I mean, it's going to serve a very easy purpose, but if I can find the right next moves, I don't think that rook on c5 is going to be very good. So I think for 10 minutes, I ended up coming with the plan of pushing on g5 and pushing on f4 and taking on e6. That's my idea. Now, I didn't have to play like this. I could have, I didn't have to take on e6. I'm trying to think here what my thought process was. Yeah, originally I thought I might be able to take on e6 first, but knight takes f3, counterattacking the queen looks really annoying. It also opens up an attack on my knight, so this is just bad news bears. So yeah, I have to go f4 first. And I actually thought, I wasn't expecting to go knight d7. I was expecting to go knight h5 to just like control the dark squares and make sure I can never pawn storm him. But because I still might have gone f4 here and then have to move like knight d6. I could still potentially take on e6. And once again, a lot of times my the knight attacks the rook. So kind of transposes similar to what happens in the game. Kind of similar to what happens in the game. Alrighty. But instead, he goes to d7, and now when I go f4, he goes knight c6. And if I have enough time, of course, I'm really going to play h4, h5 and try to blow open his king side. But he does not give me enough time, of course. I take on e6. That opens up his bishop, and he takes on c3. I take back. He takes back. And here, I think the only move for white is play knight c7. I think it's the only move for white. It attacks the rook. And if you go rook c8, I go knight d5, attacking the rook and attacking the pawn. If you go back, I just take, and after rook takes, the position is fine. Of course, if you take with the knight, then I could potentially either A, fork, or B, fork like this. So the knight has to stay on c6. I'm trying to think here. Like, well, maybe I can go b4 here, actually. It's kind of risky, but it seems like a lot of fun. The bishop guards b5, so if knight takes, I can just take, and then he can take. Okay, that's uncomfortable. Okay, yeah, that's not nice. Takes, and now he's up a pawn. So, okay, so b4, he takes and takes. This could be the solution, but maybe something like this. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, I buy it. And then if a5 though, knight here, attacking the queen. Okay, yeah. Seems pretty good. So I have to go knight c7 here. Knight c7, of course, if he takes, then you know his queen's overloaded. It's me when I eat too many tacos. It's overloaded. It can't defend c7 and defend c3. But I don't go there. I actually just go king b2 immediately, kind of like saying, hey, I want to trade queens, and then continue the game from there. And I sort of just missed like rook f3. By this point, I'm getting pretty low on time. Like, I had 18 minutes, but now I have like 6 minutes. So I don't really blame myself for missing rook f3, but this is quite uncomfortable. And I end up doing something similar to knight c7. Well, I do it, but I trade queens first. And then go knight c7, rook c8, knight d5, defending f4, attacking e6. He goes king f8 to defend. And now I have to try to figure out how I'm going to get the rest of my pieces into this game. That's what I have to figure out. I think I end up finding a very nice solution, because let's say if I go bishop d3, for example, well, now he's going to go e6. And if he goes e6, like, I have to lose defense of the f4 pawn. So let's say like takes, and takes. Like, this is just not good. I'm just down a pawn. I have nothing for it. Absolutely nothing for it. So I come up with the idea of just playing bishop b5, attacking the knight, so gaining a tempo. As the knight b6, then I take, and now I play rook hf1, defending f4, and everything's okay. He plays rook h3, I go rook f2, he plays rook e3, now I play f5. I'm breaking through here, trying my best. So at this point, I felt like I was in deep trouble before the queen trade. But then I figured it out, and now I'm playing f5, I'm gaining the initiative, and yes, I have 3 minutes on the clock. I stopped notating a while ago. I probably have 2 minutes at this point, but I can win this. I've won positions like this against 1700s, like my whole, like, I made my career as a 1900 beating 1700s in positions like this. Of course, I'm not 1900 anymore. I'm 1850, and I'm not playing as consistently as I would like. But I still have that in me. I got this. I got this. He takes on e4. I take on g6. I double up my rooks here. I was like, you can't defend f7. And he's like, f5. So after I take, he plays e5. And he's shutting everything down. He's like, yes, you won your pawn back, but at what cost? I have this passed pawn in the center. I have more activity. And I was like, well, here's the thing. I'm going to go bishop d7 and bishop e6 here. I think he had to go rook d8 here. Actually, I don't know if it's better, but at the very least, he kicks my bishop out. And then he really kicks my bishop out. So I think that was a maneuver. He had to go rook d8, rook e8, and rook d4 to kick my bishop out and shepherd his pawn forward. But instead, he goes rook c7. I was like, whew, good. I'm not in trouble anymore because bishop e6 and my pawn and bishop work beautifully together to control the king's movement. And after he goes rook h7, I go rook g1, attacking h6. He goes rook h6. I double up, and now he plays rook f4. And at this point, I thought, like, okay, I'm definitely breaking through. I'm just going to take. And then after he takes, I take. I'm going to be threatening mate. And there's really, it's unstoppable. And then he takes on f6. And I was like, okay, well, that's actually a lot more difficult than You know, I thought it was, and I'm just like, you know, but I still think I'm better. Like, I got this. I'm gonna just go and check, bring my bishop back. Now I'm threatening to go check here and mate. That's a checkmate threat. He defends his second rank. And here, I'm really not sure how to continue. I think one way to continue is just to go check like this. And then after, let's say the king goes back here, for example, I could go check and just push my pawn. And I'm guarding e4. So he can't push. If he defends e4, then I can start pushing my own pawn. And if he defends there, then I can go... Honestly, I might just defend my pawn. It gets a little bit tricky with e4. And maybe this is not the best approach. Like maybe I don't have to push my pawn like that. Maybe I can also just go check here and here to guard my pawn like this, and then take on c5 or what the heck, c5. Rook goes to c5 and then take on b7. But I have to be very careful that he doesn't like bring his pawn through so quickly. Well, what's really nice is that like there's not much for him to do with this knight. Like if he goes knight t6 at any point, then I might consider just taking and not taking on b7, but I could take on b7. It gets a little bit scary, but I think like everything is good. Like everything is good for the most part. So I had to trade one pair of rooks like that, keep his king at bay, and maintain my h-pawn. And I'm just winning. But my nerves got to me. I'm just so slow now, and I go rook b8, which I thought that was pretty reasonable because I'm threatening to take and then go check and win the rook on h7. But he just goes rook f8, and I don't have enough time to take on b7 and then skewer, and I'm just like I lost my advantage. That's what I felt like. So I went check, b4, and went rook b8. Once again, I did not have to go for this. I really did not have to go for this. I could have just gone rook g2. And after king e7, I can go bishop d5. And play c4. So let's say it goes like rook f7, c4, rook here. I can probably... Honestly, I could probably just go check and takes. It's still kind of dicey. Not kind of. It is dicey. I probably have to go towards the center. And if, like, let's say takes. If takes, and I have f5, which looks good. And then if he gets out of the pin, then I have a4, a5, and this is probably winning. So there's a million and one ways that this is winning, probably. But instead, I trade, I go check, I win this pawn on b8, or on b6, I mean, and here I play a4, and I just need to push my pawn. I'm not losing in this position. Really, it's just a pawn race. e4, a5, e3, a6, e2, a7. We both promote. He gets the first check. For example, you go here. But so what? If he goes rook a3 check, I can just go back. And if you go check, I can just go here. So I actually think this should be a draw. Because if he stops giving me checks, I'm going to give him checks of my own. And this should be a draw. Instead, I do the stupidest thing possible in this position. I go king c1. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to win this game. Because if he pushes, I'm going to... Actually, I don't even know what the heck my thought process was. But the thing is, I wanted to blockade this pawn. So after e3, at this point, I have like 3 seconds on the clock. You know, at this point, I should have fully committed and went king d1 to try to blockade the pawn. But instead of that, I just pushed now. But then he went to check and pushed again. And I was just like, oh my god. So not only does he promote, but now his rook is on the back rank along with his queen. You see, like if you see his rook is not on the back rank, it's on the second rank, but now it's just mate immediately. Well, not mate, but he wins everything. There was probably a mate there too, but it doesn't matter. And I was like, I can't believe this. Like, why do I always do this? Like, I was playing so well until I wasn't. And this always happens. This always happens. Like, and yes, that guy, he gained 100 points. He hadn't played a tournament in 20 years, but he's really good at rapid. Like, yes, it's game in 30, delay 5, not my strongest time control. But, man, like, I wish something would go right for me, you know. But that's just me complaining. That's just me complaining. And so I lost about 10 points from this tournament. I went from 1854 to like 1846, so maybe 8 points for my troubles. And yeah. Dan's a very nice guy. He said, if time control was longer, you definitely would have won. And I was like, and I couldn't handle it, man. Okay, well, I'm gonna hit the game review. I'm gonna end it there. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.